So other than the Republic gunship, I would say the ATTE is the most iconic Republic vehicle. And now for that reason, coupled with the fact that it hasn't come out since 2013, it is definitely a high demanded set. Now when I got to the LEGO store yesterday, there were hordes of people trying to get the ATTE. I know people in the US and stuff haven't been able to get it at all. But I was lucky enough to get my hands on a copy, and today we're going to be building it up and taking a look at whether it's going to be worth your money to buy this set right now. So now, like I said, it is still coming soon on the American websites, but if you're watching this anytime after around August 7th or so, you should be able to get it over in the US and in the UK and everything like that. I know it's pretty much sold out everywhere here in the UK, and I'm sure it's the same across Europe and everything like that, because it's definitely a highly demanded set. But this is set number 75337 with 1052 pieces and a load of clone minifigs that are definitely in high demand. This one will retail for $139.99 in the US, and over here in the UK it is $119.99. But with all that being said, let's open it up and start building. The first half of this sort of time lapse you're going to see right here was actually done on a live stream, so if you guys want to come along and see more of my live stream builds and things like that, definitely hit that subscribe button so you can stay up to date when I do post all of my live streams and things like that. I had a ton of fun building this set with you guys. It was really good fun, but then I went ahead and finished it off on time lapse, so sit back and enjoy as I time lapse build all of the ATTE, and then we'll cut back in with my thoughts and opinions. So this is the ATTE. Now, yes, it is a very, very similar build to the previous ATTE. If you've ever had that one or seen that one, it is almost identical in a lot of ways to that set. And now that's not necessarily a bad thing. I think that one did a lot of great things, and I think this one also does a lot of really good things as well, and definitely improves on a few areas over that 2013 model. But in my opinion, there's also a couple of things that it does worse, which we'll touch on later in the video. Before we take a look at the build, we're going to take a look at the whopping 8 minifigs that you get in this set. Now, there's a fantastic lineup of minifigs in here. We do in fact have, of course, Commander Cody. He was the most iconic and most demanded one in here. We get a load of different clones to go along with him, but he is looking pretty good, and I think LEGO did do a pretty great job with him. Now, of course, they did have to add new holes into his helmet to make the new sort of like visor that goes on top of his classic P2 helmet. Now, I really do like the way it looks when you have the visor attached, but what we'll see later on is that it doesn't look incredibly good when it comes to the other figs that also have those holes but don't have the visors or anything attached to them. Now, for me, the torso and leg print is fantastic, and I'm really surprised that they actually added a new face print for Cody. Not only does he have his iconic scar, but he also has a cool grimace, and this clone face is definitely a unique one to the ones we've seen previously, which I think is really cool and I was not expecting LEGO to do. He has his rank on his chest and a cool bit of grey on the bottom of the torso with a few different markings. Really are accurate to what we see in episode 3. On the back, we do in fact have a printed jetpack. Now, for me, it would have been nicer to get a molded one, but I don't think that was really feasible for LEGO, so I think the printed one works well, and honestly, it represents the jetpack pretty well, and we have a small thermal detonator at the bottom as well. Overall, I think LEGO did a good job with this highly demanded fig that we've all wanted for a very long time. Whilst I like what they did with the P1 visor, I still think they should have molded a better one. I think it just still does take up too much space around the eyes, and you really it really shadows the actual face of Cody as well, which is a bit of a shame, but I think overall they did a good job. Now, contrary to popular belief, these helmets are actually slightly different. They do in fact have a raised ribbed area around the back of the helmet as well, just below where the hole is. That makes them slightly different to the ones we see in the 501st Battle Pack, for instance, or the clone tank that came out recently personally in this year. So that is a really weird difference, a very, very small and minute difference, but it's still cool nonetheless to mention. And where would Cody be without his 212 clone troopers? Now these are cool, but I do think everyone seems to be having some misprinted ones here. On the box it kind of shows the orange marking coming right down to a point, however this one is kind of cut off, so interesting to see what LEGO is going to do about this, whether this is going to be fixed in the future iterations of the set. You get a bit of battle damage and some nice markings across the torso and legs as well, and I really do like this. I think it's come together really nicely. It's good to get another clone in the phase 2 style, similar to the 501st clone trooper. Again, the helmet has the holes in the sides, same with the gunner that we're going to take a look at in just a second, and personally I don't like this. I know it adds a little bit of extra play value and you can sort of customize it and you do get extra antennas and stuff like that, but for me the antennas look shocking when they're in these holes, and I'm just really not a big fan of this. I really think they should have just molded a new visor piece for Cody and done the holes in the sides of the actual helmet where they should be. But yeah, other than that, this figure is nigh on perfect, and I really do love the hip printing, and I think the torso, back and front printing is fantastic as well. And of course he comes with a regular clone head underneath his helmet. The last clone trooper is the clone gunner. Now this is a really cool minifig as well. We also have seen one of these before in the past, but this one is a nice iteration. I do think there's a little bit too much battle damage on his helmet. It kind of makes it hard to read and kind of a bit messy up there in the face, but I think it's pretty cool nonetheless. Again, he has the helmet holes. We're not going to mention any more about that, but it is a bit of a shame for me. And he has the two heavy brown stripes on his helmet as well, similar to what Cody has, but it is a slightly different iteration on this clone gunner right here. Now this is actually labeled as a 212 clone gunner, which I find very interesting, but it doesn't really seem to have any affiliation to the 212, and we never really saw this on Utapau anyway, so again it's pretty much just a regular clone gunner. But he has a cool chest strap across his chest and also a nice one on the back as well. You can see the straps running across the back and some plain white legs, same as the ones we saw in the clone pack. And again he has a plain clone head underneath as well. Now we get a trio of battle droids to go against these clone troopers right here. Now these are just plain regular battle droids with the gunmetal grey blasters, nothing special here, similar to what we've seen in plenty of sets. But again, it's good to get some opposition for the clone troopers. But I know it's not a minifig, but the first build is the Dwarf Spider Droid. Now this is a very interesting build. I think they've done a pretty good job with this. I think it's well refined over the years. It's definitely similar to ones we've seen in the past. I do like how they've replaced the stud shooter at the front with this small nose sort of barrel piece. I think that's a lot more accurate and it looks a lot better in my opinion. However, this just feels a bit out of place. A lot of people have mentioned it already. It should have been a crab droid, but sadly we did get this one. However, I think it's a pretty solid build for what it is, and I don't think we can really complain about the way it turned out. Not many play features with this guy. The barrel can go up and down, as well as the eyes on this phone piece can go up and down. The legs can all move, and the top sort of antenna on the top can kind of spin around as well, which is kind of fun. So now with the minifigs out of the way, let's talk a little bit about this build. So starting from the back, we do in fact have these nice ball turrets, and you can in fact unclip this section and open this up to check out the interior. Now this can be a little tricky to do. If you do pull from these ball turrets, you do end up sort of like pulling them off sometimes. However, if you get the right angle, you can pull this back section off, lift the top section up, and open up these side sections to open up the interior, where we do in fact find a load of seats that we can fit up to 5 clone troopers. You can also stand a few clone troopers around the area as well, which is kind of cool, and you get this small build for a weapon rack as well. On the back you do get a small sticker on this curved slope, which looks kind of good as well, and you do get a coffee mug as well as a fire extinguisher as well in there, which they seem to love to include in sets. Now to close this up, I'd recommend closing the 2 side sections first, and then pulling up the bottom section and pulling down the top section, and then clipping them into place like so, and you can see it comes together pretty smoothly. You will have to just sort of push all the sections back together, and then it works pretty nicely right there. For me, the feet and legs of this set are definitely the most lacking part of this. They've definitely taken a step back. We went away from having these big dish pieces to having a more part intensive sort of foot and leg, and I'm not a big fan of that. I don't particularly like these big cog pieces either, but I think it works well for sort of representing the ATT legs. Front and back legs can have a little bit of posability. You can see not much movement in there, but the middle legs can sort of move much more right here in the middle, and that does sort of help them to balance and fit on the table no matter how you pose your ATTE. The center section is made up of a large Technic structure, which actually works really well to hold everything together, and sort of is in two main sections, with the back being the stuff we've already looked at and the front section being what we're just about to get to. On the side panels we do have some nice sticker details, as well as a couple more stickers on the top. A few of those do in fact have a little bit of battle damage, which I actually like the addition of that. I think that was a really cool thing to add. On previous iterations we did have a big dish piece right here with a print on it. However, I do actually like this brick built version, and I think it works well. I just do prefer the dish piece probably, but this definitely is not too much of a downgrade right there. We do also have 2 Republic symbols on the front on either side, which is pretty cool. These are both stickered as well. Those circular pieces are kind of hard to get stickers to fit perfectly right in the center. However, I managed to do these pretty well, I think, so I'm pretty happy with that. However, these are just, not the nicest stickers to do for sure. If we open up this front section again, you can sort of lift up this section in the middle. It doesn't go too far back, so you can't get the most amount of access to this area. However, there are a couple more seats in there, and you can actually pull this section out right here and put minifigs on it and then put it into the set, which makes it a lot easier for the play value right there. And then there is also a thermal detonator holder in there as well, which is pretty cool. In here, you can only fit 2 more clones on actual seats, but you can probably stand a couple more up as well. There's also a small crate with some micro binoculars. Closing up this section is just as easy as the back, and it comes together really nicely. There's a really nice turret build on top, which you can see has pretty good posability and some stud shooters on the sides. You can pose a minifig in here. However, when we spin it, you can see he kind of bounces up and down as he's not actually studded in. Like I said, this does spin 360 degrees, which is cool though. And yeah, definitely is a cool feature right there. And you do get a small screen on there, which is a classic screen we see in a lot of LEGO Star Wars sets. Onto the front, we do get 4 ball turrets up here as well. These are pretty cool. You do have a sort of tendency to pop them off again like the back ones. When it comes to sort of moving them around, you can sort of pop them off quite easily. However, they work pretty well. And then the same as other ATTs in the past, you can in fact pull the cockpit out and add your clone trooper to there and then add him back in. There's a couple of joysticks and then a nice tan seat in there as well, which is pretty cool. It's interesting they went with tan seats and stuff in here. I don't know whether that's specifically accurate. I know a lot of ATTs have like sand blue seats, which would have been quite interesting, but yeah, they did go with tan stuff for this one. So again, pretty cool nonetheless. But yeah, sand blue would have been cool to see in there, but I guess they want to distinguish it a little bit more from the AT-AT potentially. Now, the cockpit design is nice. I do think there's a bit of a lacking amount of red on here. I do think the older ones had a bit more red around the bottom of the cockpit, which is a bit of a shame, but this one has a lot more grey down there. Also, I find that it kind of sticks out a little bit, and you can kind of see there's a little bit of give there, which is a bit of a shame. You can kind of see here we have like the cockpit kind of peels off a little bit and sometimes droops down a little bit. Even if you have it fully pushed in, it kind of just pulls forward just because of the amount of plates and stuff holding everything together on the top there. Overall, I'd say this is a solid rendition of the ATT. Again, very, very, very similar to the 2013 model. Just a few different discrepancies that we see in this one that we didn't see in the 2013 one. But other than that, they make a few different improvements, such as the interior on the front section. There was no interior on the past one, and a nice interior on the back. And I like the way they lock these two pieces together. It's definitely a nice one, even though it can be a little bit tricky to open and close. But yeah, definitely let me know what you think of this ATT in the comment section down below. Definitely a popular one. I mean, any set with clones seems to sell well at the moment. And it's a shame you guys in America haven't had access to this one just yet. Hopefully, you guys will all be able to get your hands on them very soon. I know they're on back order in the UK as well. So definitely going to be one that sells out heavily and is going to be a hard one to find for a while now, I think so. So yeah, let me know what you thought of this in the comment section down below. I love the minifigs. I think the minifigs are solid. I don't think the helmet holes look just as bad in person as they do on videos. So I was slightly less appalled by the way they look in person, but still it's a bit of a shame for me. However, I think I'll buy a couple of these to try and get a good little army going. I might sell the actual builds and just keep one of them potentially, because I already have a couple of the 2013 versions. However, I definitely think this is a solid set. The amount of minifigs in here is a really, really good factor, and that is definitely something that pushes it into the higher categories when it comes to ranking this set. Yeah, the ATT is a solid model. Let me know what you think of it in the comments. Have you managed to get your hands on one yet? Let me know. And also make sure to come along to more of my live streams as we build up these awesome new summer sets, including the castle and the Jedi Starfighter, which will be coming in the next couple of days. But yeah, let me know what you thought in the comment section down below, guys. I hope you enjoyed this video. Make sure to leave a like if you did, and also subscribe to the channel if you are new around here, and I will see you in the next video. Goodbye.